We are back at high noon hour. And, I'm here with Dr. Orbach, of course, Dr. Gideon Orbach, the anchor of the world of wellness. And, we kind of were fighting over who should get the high noon slot because, it always
Good time, man.
belonged to Dr. Weiner,
Yep.
right? Every wellness week, he got high noon. And so Doc and I were battling for position. And, of course, what happens when you battle for position? And usually, you end up sharing it.
And who would I rather share it with?
Nobody.
Come on,
That's
you
right.
own the world. I'm just nipping at your heels here.
Well.
No, seriously, Dr. Weiner. I mean, we're going back 7, 8 years longer at this point. But Dr. Weiner spoke at the Wellness Weeks every day at noon.
Yes.
And I spoke. My speeches, my presentations were all at 11. And so when you speak at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, you know who your true friends are.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I would begin my workshop and I'm talking, saying things that I think are very important and relevant to no one but the empty walls around me. And then by 11:30, 11:45, it was standing room only because people wanted to stake out their claim for a spot to hear Dr. Weiner. And then I got to make my real points and tell the good stuff. And then after a certain point, people were like, hey, Dr. Orbach does actually have something to say.
Well, I can kind of echo that because I used to have to go on at 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's tough.
After Dr. Weiner.
That's a tough act to
and
follow.
then I'm thinking, I'm trying to keep
them
people
right.
in their seats. Don't leave.
Please stay.
Please stay. And it took a little while, but then they started to hear some good things, and then they kept filtering back in, and so we do what we have to do.
Right.
But we're here together today.
This is really like this is more of a conversation than a workshop.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation between me and Joe.
Yeah.
Because Joe owns the world and I'm nipping at his heels. But you guys are involved too. So if you're sitting in the audience and you have a point you want to make or a question you want to ask, or if one of us says something ambiguous and you want a clarification, don't be shy. Just raise your hand and let us know. Wave. We'll get to you.
Yeah.
And the same holds true for the people who are out in Cyberland. We have IT savant Phil over here to my left, who is going to one day own the world.
Producer, director, cinematographer, editor.
And he's monitoring the goings on in cyberspace. So if you're just not necessarily happen to be in the building, but you happen to be with us, you're with us. Phil will make sure that you're acknowledged and we get a chance to communicate with you too. But anyhow, we got a lot of things to cover and a lot of conversation threads that we want to make sure that we get a chance to go down this avenue and that avenue. And to me, this is an unbelievable facility, wellness center to be working in. I mean, I've been here. I'm closing in on 17 years. I know that you've been with the group for longer in one shape or form, and we've had a chance to see so much growth and so many different changes that are like, you think change is coming, and the change turns out to be for the better.
Yeah.
And the growth has been insane, absolutely insane. And like everybody, we were affected by COVID. I mean, it wasn't so much business is down so much as there's less energy, fewer people in the building. But even that's being restored, and it's great to have real live human beings here joining us. But this is not only the case that this is a nutrition store, but it's a true wellness center.
Right.
And a component of what we do is the hands-on chiropractic, and we have other therapeutic modalities that we do. And we have these wellness weeks where we really highlight the nutritional supplementation and put the products on special discount. But it's like, for me, this is my one big opportunity to crack open out of my shell and come out and talk about what we do in terms of service, in terms of the chiropractic aspect, the physical health care that we do at this facility. And we have a population, and when I say we, I mean I talk about our wellness center as a whole, but I talk specifically about myself and my colleague, Dr. Ross, who's also my fellow chiropractor. We have a population of patients who come from parts of West Virginia. We've seen people who come from as far away as Buffalo, New York. We have plenty of people from Ohio, northeastern Ohio. we have a real more of a regional practice than a neighborhood practice, and I attribute that to a lot of good things. Most of which is that we do what we say we're going to do. That if you hear our once upon a time it was the radio show, now it's the podcasts and the Facebook lives. It's talking and interacting with people in the nutrition store, and both Dr. Ross and I, like I'm proud of the training that I have. I'm proud of the people who I call my friends and mentors. I know like people who I trained with have now been in practice for 20 plus years. And people who I know personally who were students with me are now listed as some of Dr. Ross's mentors. So,
hey, the cycle,
it just,
right?
yeah,
The circle of life.
Yeah. So we really we do good work here. And when I first started with Dr. Weiner, man, like I was talking to him in an initial job interview. It was more of a conversation than an interview. I was talking about the way I practice and the things that I do. And to me, it was like everybody who I know, like everybody does this. I mean, hands-on chiropractic. What could be more simple than that? This is, well, all the people I know do this, but it turns out that we're really a minority within the profession. And so much of the profession is drifting towards devices that you plug into a wall, to the electrical socket, drifted towards modalities that are, I'm not in favor of. Doing a lot of less labor intensive, less hands on, less physical strain. And it turns out that both Dr. Ross and myself, and all my professional colleagues who I consider to be my friends, and the people who I trained with who trained Dr. Ross, uh, um, we do physical work. We do modalities and techniques that are just simply not that different than what Russian bone setters were doing hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago. That Chinese martial arts masters were doing hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago. And every indigenous culture that has a healer or a medicine man or a hands-on practitioner throughout the ages of humanity. I mean, now,
well, the whole phrase "laying of hands."
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's where this has all started.
Now in 2024, we can explain the biomechanics better than ever before. We can explain the neurology better than ever before, and we can do a much better job of saying, here's what we're doing and here's why it's going to work. That's new. But the concepts that we use, the techniques that we use, the assessments that we make, those are primitive. And they've worked as long as humans have been humans. And so there's an element, like I'm proud of this. I really am. So when we have our wellness weeks and I see people in the crowd who have been and who continue to be patients, and I see my patients come in and they ask about how wellness week is going, and it's like, this is great. I mean, here's a chance for us to showcase another aspect of what it is that we do here at this center.
Yep, absolutely. And it never, you mentioned change. I mean, many times you can't stop change.
No, you're welcome.
But you can control how you respond
Absolutely
to it. That's like with everything in life. There are circumstances you can't stop or change, but you can only control how you yourself react and deal with them.
That's absolutely right. That's so spot on. And if you look at what we've been able to do here under mostly under Jamie Dorley's leadership, but also the people that he's brought in to help, yourself, of course, how we navigated our way through COVID. I mean, you think a natural health facility where we focus on the laying of the hands, which is really close physical contact.
That's right.
When we're being told to be 6 feet apart at all times minimum. We are in the vitamin, mineral, nutritional supplement, herbal extract business.
Well, I gotta stop you and ask you something.
Okay.
Is there any way possible that a chiropractor could do his job from 6 feet away?
Well, no, no, absolutely not. But this is my problem with where the profession is headed. That a chiropractor whose practice is focused on being more like a yoga teacher. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The world needs more good yoga teachers. The world needs more good yoga students and practitioners. No question about it. I am not by any stretch of the imagination criticizing yoga, but you have chiropractors who maybe they never really learned how to use their hands. They didn't learn technique, and their practice is we're going to teach patients rehab exercises, and it comes straight out of the yoga playbook. So it's not much different than taking a Zoom yoga class. Those people were able to do what they do, but practitioners like myself and Dr. Ross from 6 feet away, I have a hard time practicing from 6 inches away. and so this is a time period where the governments, major corporations are doubling down on pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And we're standing here like, but don't forget your vitamin D. And we navigated our way through the COVID times absolutely brilliantly. And that's a tribute to the leadership here and to the changes that they were forced to make and impose on the wellness center, and the way we, the people who work here day in and day out, didn't just adapt but thrived, embracing the change, not second guessing anything, saying we're just going to keep marching forward. And if we have to switch over to a different lane and march forward there, that's exactly what we're going to do, and that's what we did. So you're right that some change is forced on you and some change you accept, and you got to react to it. And we here have done a marvelous job of that.
Well, on that note, I'd like to segue into why you should be a chiropractic patient, because I don't think we need to prove that point to the majority of this audience, but for new people that are watching for the first time, they're going to come by this presentation and see, and maybe they're on the fence. Should I see a chiropractor? And, years ago, I remember doing that one workshop where it was the 2 things that you must do in your life. One of them is have good structure and have good chiropractic, because your body, your structure is everything. Okay, so if they're on the fence, why should they be a chiropractic patient?
Well, I promise you this. No matter how many negative stereotypes you've heard about chiropractors, no matter how many horror stories you may have heard about what a chiropractor did, no matter how many stories you've heard about how awful somebody felt after seeing their chiropractor, I promise you, I've heard more. So
I haven't heard any of those.
So let's just drill down on that and say that no matter what somebody's doing, I mean, you gotta do your job the way your job is meant to be done, and you gotta train for it, and you gotta study, and you gotta prepare, and you gotta network with professional colleagues, and you have to always be ready to learn, and you have to be ready to teach, and you have to observe certain safety procedures, and you have to be respectful of the boundaries or the limitations or the spot that the person or the people that you're working with are in, and you have to be respectful of that. So let's just make the assumption that whether you're practicing chiropractic or whether you're an electrician or a plumber or an elementary school teacher, that those rules apply. You have to have pride in performance. You have to put forth effort to be good at what you do, and you have to be respectful of the equipment that you use or the people that you're working with, people that you're teaching or presenting to, and so you got to meet that criteria. And just like every profession, there are chiropractors out there that really they shouldn't be in practice. I don't know how to filter them out and how to get rid of them. It's not my job to. It's not my place to, and I resent being judged by the lowest common denominator that's out there.
I understand, and I agree. I can equate to that. Way back in my days as an instructor, as a martial arts instructor, when we went through our training, it was 5-6 years to get to that level, that
At
black
least.
belt level.
At least.
Mm-hmm. And that was as an adult, so that you could understand and comprehend what you were learning,
Right.
and how to apply it. And then you would get these schools that would come around and have these black belt programs that were 12 months, 18 months. And you're thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's not right.
That's not right. But they brought down the integrity of the profession.
That's right.
Okay. And that happens in every profession. You know, somebody once made a comment that, you know, in every medical school, every class that graduates, somebody came in last.
Right.
And that might be your doctor.
It might.
More likely it is.
Right.
So it is important, and you must do your homework, and you must, you know, find qualified practitioners, including chiropractors. Right. But that said, you have longevity.
Yeah.
You've been doing this a long time. You have success rates that are through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just ask one question to everybody out there. Do you think the integrity and the health of your central nervous system is important?
Let's look, if I may. When you think about your central nervous system, think brain and spinal cord.
Yes. And what protects your brain and spinal cord all the way throughout your body?
Well, I'm gonna double down, triple down, quadruple down on that.
All right.
And so if your central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord, and your spinal cord, and to an extent your brain, throws off little branch nerves that travel throughout your body, and those branch nerves throw off branches and so forth and so forth. So it looks like your nervous system looks like a giant spider web.
Yeah.
And every single body function, everything that you perceive, your ability to digest your food, our ability to have this conversation, your ability to get up out of the ability to recognize it. I think I need to go to the bathroom, and get up and out of your chair and walk over to the bathroom. That's all dependent on your nervous system and your body communicating with each other. And so you have these little tentacles throughout the body, your peripheral nervous system, but your central nervous system, the master controls, are brain and spinal cord. So if I can answer and assume and answer Joe's question, the body parts that are considered to be central nervous system, your brain and cord, are covered and protected by hard bone, the skull, and the vertebral column. I mean, I took gross anatomy. I've dissected out people's cadaver, not a living person. I've dissected out a spinal cord. Look, I'm a heavyweight. My roommate, who I was my dissection partner, was a champion bodybuilder. Between the two of us, to crack open the spine, the vertebral column, to dig out the spinal cord on a dead person. This is not a live person who has vitality and circulation. This is an inanimate object, a corpse. We needed a bone saw, a hammer, and a chisel, and we were hard at work and breathing heavy and not enjoying the task at hand. You have a lot of protection for that brain and spinal cord. Those hard bones are very, very dense, strong, and highly protective. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so what I was getting at is the correct alignment of that structure directly relates to the health of the central nervous system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The correct alignment of those bones, those parts of your skeleton, are critically important to protect the central nervous system. Now, here's the really exciting part that, as I said a moment ago, more than a moment ago, in 2024, we have a better ability to explain what it is we're doing and why it works. The alignment of your skeleton and the function, when we think about alignment, let's substitute the word form. Your body's form. And there's a very intimate relationship in biological living organisms, people, where form and function have reciprocal communications and dependency on one another. So if your form is better, the way we're going to influence that is by moving it in the way that it's designed to go. And when your form is moved It's going to influence your function, which is your nervous system activity. So we can actually now know that not only does the vertebral column and actually all the whole skeleton actually, not only does that protect the central nervous system, but proper movement of it stimulates the central nervous system.
Takes it to another level.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I think back about my mentors, the people who I hold in the highest esteem, Ken Erickson, Ted Carrick, who saved Sidney Crosby's career, the people at the Motion Palpation Institute, Mark King in Cincinnati, Mark Charette. These are people who teach and influence that what we're doing is we're stimulating the nervous system as much as, maybe in some cases even more so, worried about aligning the function, aligning the structure of the skeleton. So you could make a really crude analogy and say that the body is like a giant antenna picking up signals to stimulate the brain and the spinal cord. And I know you've talked about this at least 1,001 times, but how important vibration becomes. And we talk about modalities that involve vibration.
Yes.
And when you think about what is hands-on chiropractic, we're putting forces into joints to get them to vibrate and move.
Yeah.
And we want to get them to move in such a way that reinforces good structure, good form, and at the same time vibrate them in such a way that's going to be healthy and stimulation to the central nervous system.
And to stimulate signaling throughout the body.
Exactly.
What
That's
you
exactly
started
right.
this conversation with are
Exactly
these
right.
signals that go, most people I think are starting to understand this, but if you feel pain in your hand, that's you're not feeling it in your hand. It's going into your brain through the central nervous system.
It's the communication between your hand, between the hand and the brain.
Right.
So when we think about addressing pain, whether it's in the hand or the lower back or the foot, ankle, wherever where the pain is, what we really want to do to treat it is we want to interrupt that cycle. We want to take a new cycle or a new set of signaling or a different vibration or stimulate the antenna differently, that we want to take the messages that are coming from the hand in this case, and we want to intercept those messages. We want to block them out with a whole entirely different set of neurological signaling. And that's what occurs through chiropractic adjusting, through introducing vibration, through stimulating the structure of the body, the form of the body, to better communicate with the central nervous system. Right. Now, if we're going to do that, and it were just a case of, well, my hand hurts, you don't need me. You don't need Dr. Ross. You can stay home and you can massage your hand, and it might even feel a little bit better. But what we want to do is we want to look at your body as a whole, as an entire system in and of itself, and figure out where are all the places where that signaling or that vibration is deficient. Now, somebody might ask the question, and it's a very good question, why are you adjusting my feet because my hand hurts? Well, your feet are not sending the right vibration or the right stimulus into the central nervous system. And we're not looking at hand pain. We're looking at where's the signaling from your body to your brain disrupted, and how can we override the aberrant signaling that does exist.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking of an electrical grid.
Yes.
Okay. So you're sitting up here, and down here is an interruption in the electrical grid, or maybe in the middle somewhere. But you know what? It's not where you are.
Right.
But something has interrupted it, and that means that energy can't get to where it needs to be.
Exactly.
And that's what's going on in your body.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what I studied when I was in chiropractic school, and what I studied my first few years of practice, really, really in depth. And now I still look at old textbooks. I'm still interested in new journal articles that come out. I go to workshops to stay up to date, but I'm too busy with practice, fortunately for me, to spend as much time studying the neuroscience as in depth as I once did. So when we first hired Dr. Ross, when he joined our team, and I had a chance to talk to him for a minute, and said, who'd you study biomechanics with? Who was your neurology instructor? My eyes lit up like headlights. I know those people. I know what you learned. I know what you know. Welcome aboard. And so we have an absolutely excellent dynamic here of how Dr. Ross and I use different techniques because we have different body types, and it's about creating efficiency of movement. And yet we're
Okay.
traveling down the same lane, following the same yellow brick road, trying to get to the same spot with our patients. So why would you want to be a chiropractic patient? Well, in a procedure that we can spend 20 minutes ish working one-on-one, we can use your whole body as an antenna and set it to vibrate in such a way that we're going to stimulate your central nervous system, which is in turn going to communicate in a more effective and efficient way with every other cell in your body. In the process, we might be able to help you diminish some pain. Now, I don't want to say no matter how bad a shape you're in, no matter how badly you hurt, no matter how long you've been in pain for, we're going to be able to get rid of it in one visit. I am not that guy. I am not making that claim. I'm making the claim to say that as we work together, your pain should diminish.
It's a process.
It's a process. But economy of movement, the way you're able to reach for things, the way you're able to walk without feeling like your hips are glued together, to be able to sit up straight, to be able to feel like you're breathing deeper and more fuller. Those are the things you can feel. Those should all be improving. Your blood pressure, your heart rate, your ability to digest your food efficiently. Those are all benefits to being a chiropractic patient.
Okay, so we had, just for an example on how to apply this.
Yes.
Most people, fall under the trap of going to a chiropractor when they're in pain. It should be as much prevention as it is therapeutic, if not more. But in a case where we have a young man who works in our warehouse, and he's a great golfer, in shape, young, fit, did something wrong on the golf course. And this fit young man could barely move. So he came in to see Dr. Orbach. And he walked out of here with the biggest smile on his face and said, that guy's a miracle worker. Well, in some eyes, you are. But it's the science and the application. So if it can be applied in a case like that, just think how proper or how effective routine chiropractic visits can be in your daily life.
Well, if you did a drill down and looked at who my patients are, and you looked at my patient population, to your point, almost 100% of my patients are people who came in initially because they were in something that ranged between severe discomfort and pain. It got to the point where they had to do something about it, and they decided to come here. So that group of people in the initial phases of care, we're paying really attention to detail. Well, we never lose attention to detail, but we're paying attention to the detail of the areas of their body that are especially painful. We're really focused on their primary complaint. And then after a couple of visits, we start to take a much wider view and look at their body in totality. And somebody may have started up with me because they have lower back pain, but as they're going to start making just a little bit of progress, they're feeling just a little bit better. It hasn't been a panacea. They're not out of pain, but they know they're doing better. And then I'm going to start working on their feet and on their elbows and shoulders. And why are you doing this, Dr. Orbach? I came in for my lower back. And I'm going to explain the exact same things that you and I just talked about. Is we're talking about neurological signaling, and we're talking about synchronizing the way your whole body and your brain talk to each other, not just the areas that hurt. And then
didn't they try to teach that to children a long time ago? The foot bones connected to the knee.
It turns out that we knew more as little children than we know now. and so then patients start to feel better and better, and they're starting to notice more of the things that I'm talking about. Like, yes, I am breathing deeper. Yes, my posture is improving. Yes, I am feeling more fluid in the way I move across the room. And we talk about a maintenance plan. And the majority of my patients are people who come in as often as once every 2 weeks, as infrequently as twice a year. And they don't necessarily come because they're in pain or discomfort. They come because it's time for their body to be adjusted and they feel like they need a tune up.
There you go.
And I feel like I've done a good job of explaining where it is we're trying to go and what we're getting at here and why we do this.
Mm-hmm. You take your car for a tune-up.
Yeah.
You should take your body for a tune-up.
Exactly.
All right. Because it's
Exactly.
more important. Yeah. Even more important. So we started out by talking about frequency and vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's getting to be more and more popular. But what we all need to understand is that everything is frequency.
Yes.
Everything vibrates. A thought is a frequency. This table has frequency. This table's moving. You can't see it, but it's moving because the molecules are vibrating. Everything has motion,
right,
because of frequency. So let's extend that. Is food frequency? Absolutely.
Better believe it.
So are food supplements frequency? Of course. Of course they are. You don't separate the types of frequency and vibration. They work synergistically. So with that said, you got to tell us, Doc, what frequencies do you recommend most?
Well, I'm very musculoskeletal. I'm neuromusculoskeletal in my approach. So on a rare occasion, I see a new patient who comes to talk to me specifically about their digestive health. And I'm thinking to myself, how did we end up together? I mean, isn't there a nutritionist here somewhere? I mean, what? So when I tell you what I recommend the most, I'm talking about what will help tight muscles relax.
Okay.
What will lubricate restricted joints. How we reduce levels of inflammation.
Okay.
Not how do we repair the intestinal tract? And I don't want to diminish the importance of organ health. I want to highlight the importance of organ health. I just want to throw out the disclaimer that there are other people who practice here that see those patients. So somewhere near the very top of my list is magnesium. That magnesium has at least 300 different functions in the human body. And for the purposes of what I'm getting at with my patients is getting muscles to relax, to come out of spasm is at the top of those 300. It also helps to build bone density. It also helps to accelerate and preserve digestive reactions. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Magnesium is essential for liver function.
And it's the single most deficient mineral in our society.
Exactly. So magnesium's near the top of my checklist.
Okay.
My checklist also includes fish oil. Now, we have a new, I don't even know if it's new anymore, the SPMs.
Right. A couple years it's been out now.
Yeah.
2-3 years.
So the SPMs, think about the SPMs as a more potent version of fish oil.
Right.
And think about me as that old dog who's trying to learn a new trick, that I'm in the habit of recommending fish oil because I've taken it and used it for so long. I love fish oil. 2 active ingredients in the fish oil: EPA, Eric Peter Anthony, and DHA, David Henry Anthony. And the EPA gets...
I wish they were that easy.
Icosapent. EPA gets all the good press. It's an anti-inflammatory, and it's very much heart healthy. And I think we're all conditioned to say, if there's something I can do for my heart, I want to do it as well. We should be. So the EPA gets the neon sign flashing important part of the fish oil. But I want to highlight the DHA because that's so good for neurological health. The DHA helps to restore the coating. It's called myelin. Myelin is the coating around the nerves in your peripheral nervous system. And it's a form of cholesterol, and the brain itself is made of cholesterol. So the DHA is good for neurological health. So I had a period of time where I was had some brain fog and just a state of lightheadedness, and you should never diagnose yourself. And I was just running it by a friend of mine, and He's like, "Are you taking enough fish oil?" I said, "No." And guess what? I increased my fish oil, and guess what went away? So once again, I don't want to say that fish oil is not the cure for brain fog, but it's certainly a good place to start. It's a good place to, if you're going to do a little bit of how can I try to fix myself as efficiently, as high percentage as possible, let's do that.
Yeah, we got to get away from those terminology.
Yeah.
That terminology is this.
Doesn't
Does fish
exist.
oil cure this? No. You know what cures? Your body.
Yeah, that's right. It comes from within. Absolutely,
You
comes
got to
from within.
feed, like Doc always said. If you feed the body what it needs, it will heal itself. The healing is what the body does. Give it the tools. Fish oil is a tool.
Absolutely,
It's not the cure.
absolutely. Also on my list is turmeric. Turmeric is one of the principal ingredients of both the X-Flame and the In-Flame.
Yes.
And I take a lot of supplements myself, and when I have a chance to take a small capsule, I want that. And turmeric it's a little thing, and it's certainly an anti-inflammatory. Anecdotally, it's good for the nervous system. Anecdotally, it's good for the heart. And anecdotally, it's restorative to a number of different organs. But in terms of what do we actually know from doing good research, it's an anti-inflammatory. When somebody has a musculoskeletal or a neuromusculoskeletal injury, there's always an inflammatory component. I don't like to use the word always. I don't like to use the word never, but I'm going to say always in this case. So the turmeric is going to help to suppress inflammation.
And you like Turmeric Plus.
Yeah, I like
which
Turmeric
is
Plus,
a patented research trademarked form of turmeric, curcumin.
Yes.
Okay. Turmeric's the herb, curcumin's the active. Okay. And there's been, other brands and things out there hard to maybe absorb.
Yeah.
That's why we use this patented
Right.
research
And let's highlight that for a second. Is the Turmeric Plus is fortified with purine black pepper, which makes the turmeric more easily and more efficiently absorbed.
Right.
So that's where the patent comes in and the proprietary blend comes in. So there's a little bit of smartness in whoever's formulating these products. So you look at the product label and you see extra ingredients. You got to ask yourself, well, why is this extra stuff in here? And in most cases, it's, well, the extra stuff makes the primary stuff more absorbable. It makes it faster action. They're companion products. They go well together. Something relatively new that I put on my list.
I was waiting for this because those are your three go-tos that I've heard you mention numerous times.
Maybe
now
I'm getting stale.
Give us something new, Doc.
It's ashwagandha. Ashwagandha. When we think about the nervous system, we talked about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Brain and spinal cord are central. All the free nerve endings throughout the body are peripheral. Okay. So we can always divide things and subdivide things and divide them some more. So another big division in the nervous system is we have the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system that's the stuff that you have no control over. This is going to happen at this is going to be regulated at a subconscious level. Whether you like it or not, it's going on. So we have the autonomics can be divided into two categories. And we can have the sympathetic nervous system and we have the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes, please explain the difference.
Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. The sympathetic nervous system is our tighten up, fight or flight. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up. I'm not digesting my food. My blood is rushing to my limbs because I might have to run. I might have to throw a punch. I'm not really sure which. I'm getting agitated. My blood pressure is going up. My heart rate is going up. I'm wound tight. Am I going to have a heart attack now? That's your sympathetic nervous system. Doesn't sound like a place we want to live regularly all the time, most of the time. But not compatible with survival if your sympathetic nervous system doesn't do what it's supposed to do. How do you recognize and react to danger? Well, our cave-dwelling ancestors, if I don't know what kind of predators they faced, the saber-toothed tiger, the whatever it was, the warring clan down in the next cave, if their sympathetic nervous systems weren't active, they were prey.
Yes.
The parasympathetic nervous system, on the other hand, is our wine and dine and relax, rest and digest. Let me just breathe deeply. Let me feel like comfort. My heart rate restores to its normal. My blood pressure starts to go down. We want to have good parasympathetic nervous system. We want to have good sympathetic nervous system. And we want to be able to achieve the balance between the two. And we have to be good at recognizing time and place and on a subconscious level and knowing when is it time to wind up. When am I going to stand and fight? When am I going to run? And when am I just going to be happy to relax and chill out? Now, I don't know about you guys. I want to spend more of my time relaxing and chilling out and less time assessing threats.
Okay, now let me interject something here, because what I heard is probably the biggest cause of one of the biggest issues we're facing today, and that's digestive disorders.
Yeah.
Because you said when you're in fight or flight, you're not digesting because all the blood supply is going to the muscles in case you got to run or fight.
That's right.
And when you are in calm mode, it was rest and digest was the term you used.
Exactly.
The problem I'm seeing is most people are spending the majority of their lives in the fight or flight.
Exactly.
Therefore, they're not digesting. Therefore, they're nutrient deficient. Therefore, they're setting the scenario for dis-ease in the body.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that was perfectly stated. It's absolutely.
That's it for me, folks. I'm done. I'll see it.
So our challenge as clinicians, as human beings, our challenge is, how do we get shifted more towards parasympathetic and less sympathetic? What strategies can I employ as a practitioner to help my patients get there? Now, the biggest tool in my toolbox is chiropractic adjusting. That when we stimulate the neurology of the joints with an adjustment, remember, we're introducing a certain type of vibration into the body. That type of vibration is recognized by the nerves, carried to the spinal cord. Now we're into the central nervous system. The spinal cord sends messages to the brain. The brain interprets that vibration, those messages, and areas of the brain that are going to trigger a parasympathetic response are stimulated. Areas that will trigger a sympathetic response are inhibited. So when you hear somebody say, my blood pressure went down when I started seeing my chiropractor, when you hear people saying, I started sleeping better after seeing my chiropractor, when they say, I went to see my chiropractor because I had this severe elbow pain, it went from severe to pretty bad, but I've been having, I've been doing better with my digestion and bathroom habits. That is real. That is the shift towards parasympathetic from sympathetic. So that's my biggest tool. The next biggest tool that I use are nutritional supplements.
Right.
Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha will help you shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It has a tremendous relaxing effect on the nervous system. And not just that, but the ashwagandha also helps to relax what's called smooth muscle. So you have 3 different types of muscle in your body that we have to address. The first one is, of course, cardiac, the heart, the specialty heart muscle. The second type of muscle is skeletal muscle. That's going to be like if I get up out of my chair and run because some threat happened and my sympathetic nervous system kicked in and all my blood shifted to my arms and legs and I'm pumping like crazy to sprint off. That's skeletal muscle. And now smooth muscle is lining your blood vessels. So if you think about blood making its way through your body, it's going to travel from your heart out to the periphery via the arteries. The arteries are going to deposit blood well, they're not going to deposit blood so much as the contents of the blood. The blood is a shuttle. So the blood is this taxi cab carrying nutrients, including magnesium, GI complete, broccoli. If you had McDonald's the other day, oxygen, that's a big one. All
Well,
that
if you
stuff.
had the McDonald's, you were carrying toxins, not nutrients.
Right. Well, that's a good point. I stand corrected. So your blood is carrying metabolites, including both nutrients and toxins, throughout your body and depositing them in your working cells. And then the blood has to come home to your lungs to refill with oxygen in order to get to your heart and be recirculated. And that happens through your veins. So how do we move blood, especially uphill through the body? But we have these smooth muscles lining our blood vessels, pumping, allowing the blood to just course along. Now, if somebody were in a sympathetic state or a sympathetic dominant state, it's pretty good chance that, we know their heart muscles affected. Boom, boom, boom. We know the skeletal muscles are affected. Smooth muscles are affected too. You think that if those smooth muscles tighten up, we're having adequate circulation? Probably not.
No.
So the ashwagandha is going to help not only shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic, but also help at a secondary level to get those tight blood vessel lining, smooth muscles to come to relax.
Okay, so ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb.
Yes.
Right, which means its source is Indian. It's an Indian source. Ayurvedic medicine is complete. There's many types, but most of them are herbal in base, right? And ashwagandha is unique in that it's an adaptogen.
Yes.
Which means it's going to go where it's needed in the body. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Your body is so smart. It's going to fill in gaps.
There you go.
If I'm having a specific problem with my knee, and I take an adaptogen molecule or herb or extract, it's going to find that adaptogen is going to find its way to my knee to put a majority of its effort and attention there. In contrast to non-adaptogen, where like it's just systemic everything.
Right. So in other words, it's like the GPS system in your body, right?
Exactly.
It's programming it in. This is how you get from here to here. All right. That's what it does. And that's how smart these bodies are. That's why they heal, because of that inert intelligence. Now, the ashwagandha that we have here is also a patented research trademarked form of ashwagandha called sensoril. And why is that important? That's important because they've done the studies, they've done the science, they've published the results of those studies, which means they stand by them. The results are there and they are published. That's why we use these ingredients. There's ashwagandha out there that is not sensoril. Does it work? Maybe. But we can prove this one works.
Right.
Because the studies are published.
Exactly.
That's a great addition to your list, Doc.
Thank you. I might have picked that up from you at one of the product trainings.
Well, we do what we can.
You do own the world.
Yeah, well. I am the godfather of nutrition. Yeah.
So we have a quarterly focus, and we're talking about family and fitness and anti-aging
and healthy aging.
And I think we really indirectly talked about all of the three, but let's just make things a little more explicit.
Okay.
When we talk about family, I mean, think about the people who are closest to you. I mean, you might be connected by blood, you might be connected by heart. Your family are the people who are close, and you want to be as healthy as you can to be able to support them for as long as possible. And you want them to be as healthy as possible to support you for as long as possible. And we want to think about community. And we have our big World of Wellness community with little families within and your family at home. And so we want to do as much as we can to offer good health to everybody in the group.
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
We talk about anti-aging. Let's just be really crude about this and just focus on one thing. I mean, our whole concept. I mean, you can talk about how are you going to enjoy anti-aging without a healthy nervous system, right? I mean, you can't. But we're talking about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. You got to have healthy sympathetics. You don't have to have them on 24/7. I mean, if you want to think about anti-aging and protecting your organs, your circulatory system, your heart rate, not being wound up and stressed all the time, being more relaxed. I mean, that sounds like a component of anti-aging to me.
It sure does. Stress is the opposite of that.
Right.
And stress will never be a component of healthy aging.
Right.
Now, look, stress, sometimes your body needs it.
Yeah. It's a fact of life.
It's a fact of life. And like most things, it's abused and it's overrun. But, there's actually an academy out there called the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. All right. So this is where we've been learning for, 20 years. We've been certified in learning through them. But then, the term anti-aging came under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course, from who? From the other side, from the medical industry, right? You can't say anti-aging because you can't stop aging.
Well, you can't stop chronology.
You can't stop chronology. That's where we came up with the slogan, you have to age, but you don't have to get old. And that's up to you. And that's what these things will help you to regulate.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
And our last component of the focus was fitness.
Well,
we talked about, like, I don't want for a second for anybody to think that, oh, well, I went to a chiropractor and now I don't have to exercise. I don't have to go to the gym. I mean, he moved me around. I'm good. Like, that's not what I'm getting at. But what we did talk about was healthy movement and how that movement creates vibration and how that vibration stimulates the body. Now, the last time we did a workshop like this, the topic of running came up, and it's like, we're going to argue back and forth whether running is healthy. Well, of course, running is healthy. It's great exercise. I don't know how many hours upon hours I want to pound my antenna, my very sensitive antenna, into the concrete and create vibration and distortion that's undesirable. But what if I'm running on a treadmill? What if I'm running on the earth, on a grassy field? What if I'm really not running? I'm running on city streets, but not really excessively, just enough to get some exercise. What if I'm going to the gym and lifting some weights that really aren't enough to pound my body, but are certainly enough to force me to get my muscles to contract and to compress and to expand? I mean, this is all movement.
It's all movement. And, the one that you mentioned, I mean, if more people were just walking on grass and grounding and earthing
at the same time,
getting that energy from the earth's core, you wouldn't have to do excessive exercising.
True.
What we're excessive exercises is making up for the lack of activity in our lives. Think about when you were kids. Yeah, you sat in school 6 hours a day, but then you went home and played. You went outside, played ball. You did whatever you did outside. You had a good time. You moved your body. You had balance.
Right.
That balance doesn't exist today.
You're right. It's a shame.
So you have to make up. So let's try to get back to balance. That's all. People, another thing with balance that drives me crazy is this, I think the bottled water industry really,
They won.
They convinced everybody that you should have a bottle of water in your hand all day long. I don't agree with that. You know why? Because you know what? We used to eat our water.
Yeah.
Because we ate vegetables and fruits every day, all year. There's water in food. We ate adequate amounts. You know what else we didn't do? We didn't counteract the effects of that water by drinking a Coke 3 times a day.
That's true.
Okay. And it's just, these are the things that we have done. Now we have to compensate for. Are we dehydrated?
Yeah,
probably a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's the lifestyle that you should address. I mean, if you're it's this summertime, if you're not eating watermelons and cantaloupes and strawberries and berries, well, you're going to be dehydrated. Not to mention all the nutrients in those fruits.
So true.
So
true.
It's all about balance. So I think we're just about out of time, unless anybody has some questions.
How about in Cyberland? Does anybody know?
Okay.
All right.
No questions. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Dr. O.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Yes.